Too early.
To mess with us.
This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, October 28, 2014. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by Councilman Brian Regan.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
O God, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, hear our prayer, and through thy infinite love and mercy, graciously grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all people at all times. Amen.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll of the council.
Councilman Chase, Councilwoman Francois,
Here.
Councilman Kramer,
Here.
Mayor Levine,
Here.
Councilman Prasad,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Regan,
Here.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Here.
Councilman Vasanella, Councilman Wright.
Okay, thank you. We are following along on our agendas. And you can find the agendas over here by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy, along with associated resolutions and ordinances, and a cybersecurity calendar also. You can usually find our agendas on our website the weekend before. You can see what's on there. You can click on the ordinance resolutions and see what's going to happen at the meeting so that you're fully informed. So we are now at item number 5 on the agenda, commendations and proclamations. And for the first one, I'm going to be joined by Councilman Carl Wright, and after that, Deputy Mayor Brian Regan and Councilwoman Kimberly Francois, and then one with Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Nothing for me to sign?
Carl has one.
Okay, I got a plaque.
Okay.
This is Miss Alice Osipowicz. She's the Director of Parks and Recreation, and we have a commendation for Miss Sue Van Arken, and she's retiring. After all, come on. She's retiring, and we have this plaque for 30 years of dedication. Now I'm only playing. No, 30 years of dedication, and please, step right on up. Sue, you're it.
Come on up, Sue.
Come on. Thank you.
Well, I tried to talk Sue out of retiring before me so that she could have followed in my footsteps. However, that didn't happen. So we're here tonight to recognize Sue for her 30 years of dedication to the township. And she started as so many other youth in the community do, as a junior counselor with the Recreation Department. She was a summer camp counselor at Castleton Park. Little did she know, little did I know, years later that I would hire her as a recreation coordinator for the township. But Sue's love for the community and recreation has culminated in years of quality programs and services for the township. Her inspiration, her passion, her commitment make her a special person who's strived to make the community better for everyone. While she's been able to coordinate a wide range of services, and mind you, she's in charge of all the recreation programs, she has been a champion and advocate for girls' sports programs, and she has been the driving force behind the development of recreation programs for individuals with disabilities. The department has been a model for progressive and creative programs, and as a result of Sue's leadership, the department has been recognized for programs on both, for programming excellence on both the state and national level. So it's been an honor to work with Sue and to call her my friend. So I'm just going to lose it here. But so I just like everyone to join me and wish her well in her next 30 years of her life.
Oh, I have to say something. As many of you know, I don't like speaking in front of people, and I'd rather be in the background planning everything and getting everything ready for the activities and stuff to take place. But after 30 years, I've gotten a little bit better at it, so I just want to thank everybody. Alice, Bruce are here from the department. I've worked with Alice every day since I started 30 years ago, and Bruce has been here for more than half of those 30 years. So it's been an honor to work in a community that is very progressive and very diversified and has given me the opportunity to work with a variety of populations, and programming and ideas were usually very well supported by the council and other department heads and my department. So thank you very much.
We have a commendation that we want to give. Sue, you come stand right over here. Yeah. All right. Ready? Whereas Sue Van Arken has served the Township of Franklin, working in the Recreation Department as Superintendent of Recreation since October the 22nd, 1984, and will retire effective October the 31st, 2014, and whereas Sue, with enthusiasm and effectiveness, made an excellent and constructive contribution to our community, and whereas through various endeavors, she has won the highest regard of all her peers and the admiration of citizens throughout the community, whereas the Recreation Department has been a model for progressive and creative programs as a result of Sue's leadership, the department has been recognized for programming excellence on both the state and national level. And whereas Sue has been a champion, an advocate, and a driving force behind the development of recreation programs for individuals with disabilities, and whereas Sue was the recipient of the 2009 Disability Advocate Award from the County of Somerset, whereas Sue's effort for the coordination of the summer camp and ESY Extended School Year program were recognized in 2014 by the New Jersey Recreation Parks Association and the New Jersey Commission on Recreation for Individuals with Disabilities, and this achievement has brought recognition to the township. And whereas Sue's inspiration, passion, and commitment made her a uniquely talented person and an individual who has strived to make the community a better place in which to live. Therefore, I, Brian Levine, Mayor of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the Township Council and all of our citizens, extend our deep appreciation for her distinguished service and best wishes for continued success in all her future endeavors. Done this day, October the 28th, 2014.
We'll just do a picture.
Oh, Brian? Don't nobody want to get? All right, put Sue in the middle. There, put Sue in the middle. There,
Cricket lips.
Thanks, Don.
Rajiv, want to move out of the way? They're taking a picture. That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We can do the red ribbon.
One quick note with Sue, just, did a lot of work for the town, for the community. Maybe more importantly, she's a nice person and everyone loves her dearly. And on a personal note, my daughters went through a lot of the recreation that she's done. So on a personal note, as a dad, thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, did we skip over somebody? Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this is a proclamation for Diwali. Whereas Diwali is a festival of lights during which celebrants light small oil lamps, place them around the home, and pray for health, knowledge, and peace. And whereas celebrants of Diwali believe that rows of lamps symbolize the light within the individual that rids the soul of the darkness of ignorance. And whereas Diwali falls on the last day of the last month of the lunar calendar and is celebrated as a day of thanksgiving and the beginning of the new year for many Hindus. And whereas for Hindus, Diwali is a celebration of the victory of good over evil, and whereas for Sikhs, Diwali is fated as the day that the sixth founding Sikh Guru or revered teacher, Guru Har Gobind, was released from captivity by the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. And whereas for Jains, Diwali marks the anniversary of the attainment of moksha, or liberation, by Lord Mahavira, the last of the Tirthankaras, who were the great teachers of the Jain Dharma, and at the end of his life in 527 BC. Now therefore, I, Rajiv Prasad, and Mayor Brian D. Levine, on behalf of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, do hereby recognize October 23rd through 27th as Diwali 2014 in the Township of Franklin, and call upon its residents to observe and celebrate Diwali with various activities and programs to learn about its religious and historical significance. I'd like to present that to Mr. Chandrakant Desai and ask him to say a few words.
Honorable Mayor Brian Levine, Honorable Council members, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Indo-American community of Franklin Township, myself, my wife, and our neighbors are very much pleased to accept the Diwali proclamation. It's an honor to the Indo-American community from the mayor and the council and our honorable council member Rajiv Prasad. As far as Diwali is concerned, I would just shortly say this time that it is mainly celebrated because of Rama, who is considered to be the incarnation of God, and he killed the demon Ravana, and that is being celebrated by the Festival of Lights, and it's a kind of victory of good over the evil, victory of truth over the falsehood, a victory of nobility over the tyranny, and a victory of the civilization over the barbarism. So it's a kind of symbolic celebration that is going on for thousands of years in India, and the people by that way remind themselves that it's our duty to honor good and not the evil. Now this time that much is enough, and I have a poem which because of the transition from one old year to the new year, Diwali is the last day of the year, and it indicates that now New Year is coming up. So in view of that one, I have a small poem, and I would just read it. The time moved swiftly like the jumping and thumping Niagara, and Diwali arrived rushing. Everything was kicked behind, and it leaped forward with unrestricted force. Newer environment, newer values, brand new stories, newer news, newer vibrations, newer breathes, newer music, and newer literature. The Diwali brought everything newer and fresher. The world is clouded and confused with problems accumulated since ages. Bringing the brightness and decisiveness to resolve all of them, Diwali arrived emitting luminous beams of hopes. Leaving behind the climax of violence, Diwali arrived dancing and singing the new songs of truth, non-violence, and love for all without exception. The world has been tired of division and destruction, harm and hatred. Diwali arrived with the heartening message of harmony, unity, and creativity. The world is fed up with rock and roll, disco and dandiya, and other monotonous dances. Diwali came suddenly, dancing in new mood, mode, and music. Holding together in one hand the torches of Krishna, Buddha, Mahavir, Nanak, Jesus, Muhammad, Zoroaster, and Moses, all the torches holding in one hand. Confucius, Shinto, and Tao, the new Diwali arrived in our world, flashing the light divine. Since time immemorial, the human consciousness is endeavoring hard to fly in the uppermost heavens, deeper into the sky. Diwali arrived with the skyrocketing luster hidden in its eyes. Thank you very much, and wish you all happy Diwali.
Thank you.
And I've been honored to be invited to Diwali and other celebrations over the years, and the education is great for me, not only personally, but enhancing my view of everyone. And I encourage everyone, as you're saying, to avail themselves of the knowledge and the light, as you're saying. So thank you very much. And thanks, Councilman Prasad, for bringing this for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to add, Mr. Desai is a poet in his own right and has published his own book on poetry. and this was what you read. What he read to us was one of his poems, and so thank you, Mr. Desai. Thank you.
Yeah, the Earl Williams thing. We couldn't name that.
That's it. All right.
Thanks. Thanks.
Big dog here.
All right, next we have the Red Ribbon Proclamation. So those who are here for that, please come up. And Rusha Patel.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Northey, and I'm one of the Student Assistance Coordinators for the Franklin Township School System. Additionally, I am a member of the Municipal Alliance for the Prevention of Substance Abuse. Every year, the Student Assistance Program, as part of our prevention efforts, joins with the Franklin Township Municipal Alliance, the GREAT Program, and the Governor's Council on Alcoholism to promote the Red Ribbon Week poster contest throughout our school district. Red Ribbon Week is the oldest national substance abuse prevention campaign. It is fitting this evening during Red Ribbon Week to acknowledge one of our 8th grade students, Rushi Patel, for his first prize win from last year's poster contest. As you can see behind me, Rushi's poster has been made into a sign and will be placed on the walkway at the middle school. So here's Rushi.
As of what you heard, I'm Rushi Patel, and it's nice meeting each and every one of you of this fellow township well, never mind. Do you guys really care about kids' future? I need an answer, yes or no? Yes. Well, same thing. That's why I made this poster. There was one reason why I made this poster. I wanted to make a change. I wanted to make a change in how kids would react towards drugs, like saying, no, I don't want drugs. If an older person comes to you and you're like, do you want this? I would be like, no. What really inspired me to draw this poster when I heard a kid died from lung cancer because he was smoking at the age of 15 on the news. Well, I always heard of kids dying, and I was like, I never found out the reason why. Well, I found out it was because of lung cancer, and last year I learned in my health class that smoking would disaffect your lungs, so I wanted to make a change. When I wanted to make a change, that same change came to me, the GREAT program, which was hold up. Yeah, our officer, I like her. I like saying my officer. My officer, Officer Dawn Flanders, she's our Franklin Middle School police officer, and I think she deserves a round of applause. Her and Mr. Harris have worked together in trying to make kids to do more efforts, and all the teachers over there as well too. She pushed me to do more. At first I felt like, no, I don't want to do this. It's too much work. But then her and Mr. Harris pushed me more and more to like do this. I know you can do this. You could do this. You could do this. So I was like, oh, why not just give it a chance? Well, yeah, I gave a chance, and look what I've got. I think that every kid should do this because if one hand can reach out to help us in preventing drugs and drinking being used in this township, I think we could help the whole world to make a difference as well. I myself don't think that 18 and older people should have the right to use drugs, because why use drugs when you know you're going to die from it? Like, if you're going to use drugs, you're basically committing suicide. In a way. I appreciate your time to seeing my poster and seeing what I have to say for drugs and Red Ribbon Week. And I would like to hope for every student to strive for this goal as a team, as of what I made a poster to stop preventing drugs. Hereby I end up saying, no drugs. Reach it out to the world.
Well, thank you very much, Rushi, for that. Appreciate that. It's nice to know we have officers in town who are adopted by students. Okay, so for that, here, come on up here, Rushi. We're going to present to you a commendation in recognition of your participation in the 2013 Red Ribbon Week poster contest. There you go. And it's signed by the mayor, Brian Levine. There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. So the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas alcohol and drug abuse in this nation has reached epidemic stages, and whereas it is imperative that visible and unified prevention education efforts by community members be launched to eliminate the demands for drugs, and whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles, no use of illegal drugs, and no illegal use of legal drugs. Whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign will be celebrated in every community in America during the Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through the 31st. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Deputy Mayor Brian Regan, on behalf of Brian Levine, Mayor of Franklin Township, and on behalf of the Township Council, do hereby proclaim October 23rd to the 31st as a Red Ribbon Week and encourages its citizens to participate in drug prevention education activities, not only during Red Ribbon Week, but all year long, making a visible statement that we are truly committed to a drug-free Franklin Township.
Again, I'm Alice Osipowicz. I'm co-chair with Valerie of the Municipal Alliance, and I wanted to congratulate Rushi again for his wonderful artwork from our poster contest last year, and to let everyone know that we are conducting the 2014 poster contest, and we are accepting posters through the end of the day on Friday. And our focus this year is on preventing underage drinking. But we're really impressed with Rushi's efforts here and our No Smoking campaign, and just want to encourage everyone, if you are a smoker, that in November we have the Great American Smokeout. It takes place on November 20th. It's an annual event on the third Tuesday of every month, sponsored by the American Cancer Society, and it encourages Americans to try to stop smoking, challenges them to stop smoking for at least 24 hours, with the hope that that effort will maybe last a lifetime. I would also like to let everyone know, I had some flyers out front, that on Wednesday, November 12th, we're having a parent education program, and we've invited Dr. Maurice Elias, professor of psychology from Rutgers University, and he's going to speak about emotional intelligence and academic achievement, the importance of social and emotional learning in our schools, and he will talk about the issues with achievement and how they correlate to substance abuse related issues. So if you're interested in the success of children in our school district, this is a very beneficial workshop to attend. So I want to thank everyone and congratulate you again, Rishi, for your wonderful artwork, which will go out in front of the schools, and we're proud of you.
And, the long-term help in this town from Ms. Osipowicz, Ms. Northey, who's given her heart and soul to the town for all these, and our schools for this many years, and certainly Officer Dawn, who the children love but do a good good job. Has been serving us for a long time. And mentioned some of the programs. Just want to toss out, one of the things was the GREAT program, and it was Councilwoman Francois a few years ago who really pushed for that, and when it was pushed back, she held tight so we'd get those programs in the school, which keep these things going forward too. So all these long-term efforts by people who give of themselves are truly amazing. Now we'll have Councilwoman Francois from our redevelopment agency.
This is a very rare, extremely unusual situation here tonight. In all my years on the redevelopment agency as a commissioner, I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to do what we're about to do today. So I would like to ask our Director of Planning, Mark Healy, to come up, as well as our developers from Redev. Back in 2003, we entered into a redevelopment agreement with Redev. And I can tell you, on Route 27 by Douglas Avenue, we had an area that had been blighted for years and years and years, right across the street from the cemetery in the redevelopment area. And we had a developer that abandoned the project, and it was left very unsightly for many, many, many years. We were approached by various developers during that time to build rental units. However, the redevelopment agency, with the leadership of our chairman, Mike Giannotto, I don't see him here tonight, stood fast, and Councilman Wright is also on the redevelopment agency as a commissioner, stood fast, and we entered into a redevelopment agreement with this developer. And they made a commitment that they would develop 116 owner-occupied units in that area. And they aggressively marketed. There were a lot of naysayers, because who builds property across the street from a huge, huge cemetery? I mean, it just doesn't happen. But they aggressively marketed the area. They built the units. They've almost completed them. They're almost 100% sold out. And we thought it was only appropriate to bring them in and give them accommodation for what they've done in that area, in the redevelopment area, which was blighted in Franklin Township. So it's a very long accommodation. I gave you the gist of it, and I'll read the very last part of it. It says, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council on behalf of the redevelopment agency of Franklin Township that it hereby commends Redev Group LLC for successfully and faithfully fulfilling their commitment to the agency and to the township to aggressively market the site for owner-occupied housing and for redeveloping the formerly blighted site into an attractive owner-occupied residential development that will aid in the revitalization of the Renaissance redevelopment area. What they've done in that area is unprecedented, and we want to thank you very much.
Well, I'm Mark Healy. I'm the planning director, also the executive director of the redevelopment agency. The only thing I did want to point out is, in addition to keeping to their commitment to develop the site for home ownership, they also made a number of additional changes to the project. They added a tot lot, they added parking, they made various aesthetic improvements to the Route 27 corridor, which made it look much better than it would have otherwise. And they made a number of additional improvements to the site at the request of the redevelopment agency. So I think for that reason, again, that they should be commended.
Okay, we have one more commendation for the Week of the People. I know Chairman Percy Sanders is here. Come on up, Percy. Is anyone here from McDonald's, Frank's Building Supply, Investors Bank, PIM Brands LLC, Township Pharmacy, AT&T Mechanical, Frito-Lay, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Cafe Amici Pasta and Pizza, Did I miss anybody, Percy? Okay. Is that it? Is nobody here? Okay. I guess.
The cream of the crop. Pim brands. We make Welch's fruit snacks.
All right, so the Week of the People is a 50-year-old, almost 50-year-old celebration for the township, and I'll let our chairman talk about it. Oh, we have one more person here. You're from the pharmacy? McDonald's. Okay, all right. And these folks the businesses that I just read out have been sponsors of that event for the 2014 Week of the People celebration. And the commendation reads, "We, Brian D. Levine, Mayor, and Kimberly Francois, Councilwoman of the Township of Franklin and the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the Township Council and all residents of the Township of Franklin, do hereby extend to McDonald's and all the other businesses I've mentioned the 2014 Week of the People celebration as an overwhelming success. And we just want to thank them for helping us continue to bring the people of Franklin Township together and celebrate the diversity that we have in this township." So, Mr. Chairman, you want to say something? Okay.
My name is Percy Sanders, as Ms. Francois just told you. I'd just like to thank Mayor Levine and Kimberly Francois, Councilwoman Kimberly Francois, along with the Franklin Township Town Council, for allowing me to have this opportunity to thank the people that help us run the Week of the People with their donations. The McDonald's of Eastern Avenue donated 300 hamburgers that we gave out for free to various people in the at the event, the cookout. And also for dessert, there was candy from PM brand right here, here in Somerset. They did a lot for us. They continually help us. I also would like to thank the Franklin Township Parks and Recreation for the park and helping us get permits and things through. The clerk's office, Anne-Marie and Jenny, for what they do with helping us get the permits through, and the fire department and the health department. I'd also like to thank the Week of the People Committee. The Week of the People is an event that takes place every year with a week long of events. But this year, this coming year, we're only going to do one event. We're going to combine the events and try to do one event and see how that turns out. So I hope everyone could come out, be checking for the township website and the newsletter, because we're going to try to get everything in there for advertisement. And there's a number of other of companies that help us with donations, giveaways, things like that. And there's too many to mention at this time. Okay? So, thank you.
Oh, I didn't keep track. Week of the People, domestic violence.
Oh, wrong person. I was mixed you two up. Okay.
Yes. That's what happened. All right, winding it down. Two more proclamations. Okay, this one is in honor of it's a celebration of the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas violence against women, children, and men continue to become more prevalent as a social problem in our society, and whereas the problems of domestic violence are not confined to any group or groups of people, but across all economic, racial and societal barriers and are supported by societal indifference. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economical control and/or abuse, with the impact of this crime being wide range. Whereas the Resource Center of Somerset has been serving people affected by domestic violence for over 36 years, and whereas the Resource Center of Somerset agency services include emergency shelter, legal advocacy, outreach counseling, community education, volunteer domestic violence response teams, working with local police departments, and more. And whereas the Resource Center of Somerset provides services to the survivors of domestic abuse, women, men, and children, free of charge in English and in Spanish. Therefore, the mayor and the town council hereby proclaim the month of October to be the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in our community, and do hereby commend the efforts of the Resource Center of Somerset in aiding victims of domestic violence, and to promote the Resource Center of Somerset 24-hour hotline at 866-685-1122. Do we have anyone from the Resource Center today? Okay. So the Resource Center, they had their candlelight vigil here on October 9th, and it was a very powerful and moving night. Myself and the mayor attended that candlelight procession here. To hear, to see them come in and the work that they do, especially to children and women mostly affected by domestic violence, it is really good to see that there is an organization that's out there that does have focus, as we all have to be very conscious of it in our communities and in our, first of obviously in our households, then in our communities. And when we see that there seems to be potential domestic violence, to make the appropriate authorities aware. We're very proud of our police department here in Franklin, working very closely with the Resource Center of Somerset in regards to the, as they are part of the domestic violence response teams. Today, when I was a child, the police used to come in, they'd separate the husband and wife and then ask if everything's okay, and they'd finally get everybody to say okay, and then they would leave. That really isn't how it works today. It's progressed to a point where, the police coming in, working with the response team, are focused on the protection of the children and the abused spouse in that household. And they do remove whoever they need to remove and ensure the safety of the children and the spouse. So, again, we're very proud of many aspects of our town here in Franklin, but especially our police department working with an organization like the Somerset, the Resource Center of Somerset. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I couldn't, Deputy Mayor Regan basically said it all. The candlelight vigil was very moving and educational, and especially Deputy Mayor Regan's remarks were poignant and heartfelt. So, and again, I'm going to reiterate about our police, which are not just the uniformed people enforcing the law. They work with all of our organizations, have an understanding that's not only part of their recently being accredited, but how it's come down for them and from them for a long time. So we are indeed lucky and honored to have the police department, the men and women that we do, and how they understand our people and all the constituency within it. So, appreciate it.
All right, the last one I'm doing. So this proclamation is for, in regard to the 2014 Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over End Holiday crackdown on impaired driving. So basically, without reading all the whereases, you're sober, certainly not on drugs or drinking. If you can get through reading one of these with all the whereases, it becomes a little difficult. So Here, we're going to have the crackdown will run from December 5th, 2014 to January 2nd of 2015. Our police department will be involved with the Somerset County Sheriff's Office to ensure that when you're riding that to really spread the word not to drink and drive. It's obviously a very dangerous situation to put not only yourself in that situation, but somebody else who hasn't been drinking, or someone else is just an innocent person in another car. So basically what this proclamation just stresses is that, again, there will be a statewide 2014 Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over and over end-of-year holiday crackdown. So please be mindful of that. Spread the word. If you're going out during the holiday season, please make sure you have a designated driver with you, so that way that person can drive, and the other person, if they want to have a good time, they can have a good time. Thank you.
And this one is it's called the Extra Mile, which basically relates to our volunteerism. And sitting around the room, I see people who are involved in all aspects: Pop Warner, sports, recreation, Boy Scouts, community service, Week of the People, recreation, the community, firefighters, fire department. There are Board of Ed members who don't get paid. So there's a lot of opportunities to volunteer, and this our small acknowledgement. So whereas the Township of Franklin is a community which acknowledges that special vibrancy exists within the entire community, when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. Whereas the Township of Franklin is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas the Township of Franklin is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas the Township of Franklin acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 500 Extra Mile cities in America, and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2014. Now, therefore, I, Brian D. Levine, Mayor of the Township of Franklin, on behalf of our entire Township Council, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2014 to be Extra Mile Day. I urge each of our 65,000 residents and citizens and individuals in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, family, community, country, or world a better place.
You want help? There's something also behind the podium. Dawn. Is that part of it too? In the podium, on the shelf? Oh, that's nice. I thought it was yours.
Okay, we are now going back to our agenda. Deputy Mayor Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add to the beginning of the standings committee reports a readout from the ad hoc Middle Bush Subcommittee that met this past weekend. Our 2 weekends ago, and that readout will be done by Councilwoman Francois and Councilman Colwright.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yes. Councilwoman Sherman and Councilman Colwright.
Just,
Okay.
if I could interrupt
Yes,
for a
Councilman
minute.
Prasad, please.
I'd just like to recognize our newest assemblyman of the 17th District, Assemblyman Joseph Danielson is here. Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you. So it's a motion to amend the agenda to add under Standing Committee Reports 9 before item A, a report from the Ad hoc Committee on Middle Bush Park. There's second to the motion?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. So when we get to Standing Committee Reports in a few moments, we're going to hear about the Middle Bush Park. So now we come to item number 6, Mayor's Report. So the good news for most people here is that I had printer problems, so I wasn't able to print out my report, so I can only do a couple items. I have very little capacity in my head, so I can only do a couple items. So the first one is my mug for today relates to Halloween, which is coming up. It's actually from a place called Cattery, Kateri, as in St. Cattery Environmental Education Center. It's actually not here. It's in Monmouth County. It's an environmental center. They're under the auspices of Sisters of the Good Shepherd. And I just happen to have this because it's a place I've actually volunteered for about 20 years. And one thing I do also is on Halloween, I take the kids to the woods, tell them the story of Halloween. So it's in following up on the Extra Mile Day proclamation, it's there's a lot of opportunities to volunteer in town, in the county, in the state, and everywhere. And when you give back to me, that's the highest calling. So my thank yous to Cattery Environmental Center for giving me that opportunity. As was said, we'll hear from the Ad hoc Committee on Middle Bush Park. That was very good. We Halloween is coming up, so drive carefully. Be generous when little people knock on your door. And also Veterans Day is coming up, so be reverent and be thankful for what they have done for us also. And just in one sentence, Election Day is coming up. Let's all remember that too. And I think that'll conclude it for me. So now we go to item number 7, Deputy Mayor's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick note on, yes, November 4th, as the mayor said, Election Day, and the 11th is Veterans Day, so we should not forget those days. So two things, and also, obviously, where we just amended the agenda for to add a readout by the Ad hoc Middle Bush Subcommittee. I'm very happy that that committee met and that, an agreement was reached, and we'll hear about the details on that from the committee members. On, I guess on a more, I guess, sensitive or serious issue. So, obviously, in the news, if you've watched the news over the last few weeks, you've heard a lot about the Ebola situation. And this town has taken that issue very seriously. On Thursday, October 16th, there was a meeting that myself, Councilman Kramer, and Councilman Vastanella attended with our township manager, Bob Warnlocker, with the first responders, and with members of the medical community, including doctors from the various hospitals, Somerset and Robert Wood Johnson, additionally with the County Department of Health. Though there hasn't been, you haven't seen our faces on the television, as some of the news have different communities on, we've been proactive in working this, in working a effective and efficient procedure in place to address the issue if it arises. The meeting, again, had a number of action items that were handed out to the various members of our community. Department of Health, the Police Department, and first responders, and that was all followed up and checked by our Township Manager, Bob Lawnlocker. So, basically, I just want to, at a high level, mention that that meeting occurred. It was a very productive meeting. Our overall concern, obviously, is for the safety of members in our community, but especially for the members in the first responders community as they go in and address these issues. So those procedures and that whole item will be followed up by the Township Manager, and naturally he will, based upon protocol, make any of the Township members, council members, aware of any situation that is vetted through the process. So again, I want to thank Bob for coordinating that meeting with the various members of our community and also outside of our community. We had a very active meeting the last time where there was a lot of interaction between. We heard a lot of response from members of Pop Warner and also members of the community that live around Middlebush. And during that night, it was overall a very good night. We heard a lot of opinions, and overall it was a meeting that was held in a very respectful way, with people sharing, and eventually an idea that came out of that meeting was the forming of this ad hoc subcommittee, which we'll hear about. There were, however, some members that were hurt by things that were said in that meeting at night. We saw some emails where people felt that, the topic of the racial issue coming up was unfair and caused a lot of concern. What I want to just say very simply is that this council, I know everyone on this council is clearly, very concerned and does not lead, or we do not manage or govern with the sense of giving preference to any one community members. That our town is unified in is really unified behind and feels very strongly in the diversity of our town, that's our strength, and we will continue to move forward in that. So, we hope that those people that may have been offended by some of the comments that were made that night will recognize that sometimes in a room full of hundreds of people, sometimes comments are made. And at some of them we just have to learn to let go, and others we have to address. I think this council did the right thing in moving forward and forming that ad hoc subcommittee to address the issue, and that's what we have to do as a governing body. When we have anything that kind of is festering, that people feel that they can't talk about, that potentially causes problems in itself. So we always want this council hall to be a place where our residents can always come and feel that they can address concerns to their council, and that their council members will respond to it appropriately. And ending with that, the only thing I have to say moving on is a happy Halloween to everyone, and to our children, hopefully a safe Halloween for all our children going out. Please ensure you're with adults going out and walking your neighborhoods. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So now it comes to item number 8 on the agenda, public discussion. This is the only time to speak of things of a general nature. A little bit later, I'll ask if people want to speak on a particular ordinance, which is up for a final vote, and it could go into law, but it's only going to pertain to that ordinance if you want to speak. So in a moment, if you want to speak of anything on your mind, this will be it. So as is our policy, people have 5 minutes to speak. We have a timer, so when you hear a tone goes off, that means 3 minutes has elapsed. When you hear multiple tones go off, that means 5 minutes has elapsed. I'll ask you to wrap up your thoughts, and please stick to the time so that we can hear from other people and do the rest of our work that we have to for the evening. And also, as is our policy, people can come up once per meeting, and no yielding of time. Please address all your comments to the council. If we can answer your questions, we certainly will. If we have to get back to you, we will do that then too. So is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest, which does not have a public hearing of its own. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand. When I recognize you, please come to the podium and give us your name and address. Assemblyman Joe Danielson, formerly Fire Commissioner Joe Danielson. Yeah, thank you. If you can, we'll put you to work as long as you're up there. Thanks.
I'm going to take for the 5 minutes, so it's clock start now. Don't take it. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
To begin, let me thank the members of the Franklin Township Council for allowing me to speak tonight and to provide you an opportunity and brief introduction of who I am and the many ways my office can be of service to you. My name is Joe Danielson, and not only am I a lifelong resident of Franklin Township, I am also the State Assembly member representing the 17th District, which includes Franklin Township and parts of Middlesex County. As some of you may already know, I recently was selected to fill the seat of Upendra Chivakula. Over the years, I've been an active member of Franklin Township in this community, taking on various roles and serving such as serving on the Township Planning Board, some years of which I represented Mayor Levine, Fire District 1 on the Board of Fire Commissioners, as well as holding such positions as the Democratic Municipal Chairman and a volunteer firefighter for over 20 years. As an assemblyman appointed to represent this district, my dedication to the people of this state and our community in Franklin will be no different. It will only grow, and I look forward to continuing to serve Franklin Township. My office is located at 888 Easton Avenue, the corner of Foxwood Drive, and I am able to provide various services to the people of the 17th District, such as, but not limited to, Medicare and Medicaid assistance, higher education assistance, affordable housing, and public safety issues. Whether you come to us for a notary application or assistance, we are first and foremost here to help you. Again, my office is located at 888 Easton Avenue, the corner of Foxwood Drive, and we could also be reached by telephone at 732-247-3999. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just, 'cause the Assemblyman mentioned it, most of the planning boards is appointed by the council. I get one appointment. And for a couple of years, I had the confidence and respect to Joe Danielson for him to be my person who I wanted on the planning board. So let's see in the assembly also. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Question on
And your name and address first, please.
my name is Elvasio Aquino. I live on 14 Rupert Drive, and I want to know about Blackwell Mills Road. When is that going to open up?
It's a county road, but
that's a real
I'll
question.
ask our manager, Mr. Vornlocker.
The bridge project is actually a Somerset County project, not a Franklin Township project. While it might be a township road, all bridges are under the control of the Somerset County Road and Bridge Division. So that project is, I can only answer what we've been told from Somerset County Engineering, and that project is unfortunately delayed, and they anticipate having it completed prior to Thanksgiving. I got that information actually yesterday. So that's the most recent information.
Really an inconvenience for the
It is an inconvenience for many, many people, myself, and I believe the deputy mayor and the councilman as well. Unfortunately, we have very little control over the contracts that are awarded by Somerset County.
Are you going to find out when it's going to happen?
I just told you what we were told yesterday by Somerset County, and that is they're anticipated being done before Thanksgiving. Okay. And my suggestion is if you have any concerns or complaints about that you address them with the Somerset County Engineering Department.
I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tibbs? And then you can go after him. Okay.
I just have a couple items I wanted just to.
Name and address.
Oh, Johnny's Chip, 25 Parkside, 322, apartment 322, Somerset, New Jersey. It's just a couple things I want to address very briefly. Number one, I do want to thank you and the rest of the council for being proactive in terms of this whole Ebola situation. I think it's a great thing for you and the council to become proactive so that the residents does know that you are aware of the worldwide situation, and I thank you for being proactive in terms of that. The other thing is, I want you guys to know that just as ongoing days go by, and you know that whole pool situation thing and so forth, you know I've been after you guys for years. Well, I want you to know that in the beginning of me trying to get those certain individuals in the pool, that has been 2 years now. This is on the 3rd year. And since that time, 3 of those same individuals we don't get in the pool are now in jail, and 1 is dead. So I just want you to understand that things that can happen didn't happen, and what happens as time goes on. And hopefully next year we be able to save some of the other kids. As I told you before, my job is to only try to save people's lives. I think I know how to do that a little bit. Still trying. The third thing is, I don't have my glasses. What is this? Thanks for the... Middle school? What's it say, Joe? Said you don't.
Our new assemblyman, always eager to help out.
He's like, he has his glasses, he won't wear them.
I have a pair of 2.0 reading glasses here, if that helps.
He got 2 pairs of glasses.
Oh. I'm sorry. Power.
No problem.
I like to be animated. I want to thank you guys. It was just a thank you. It was another thank you, and I couldn't see what it was. I want to thank you guys for finally formulating a committee and coming to a decision about the whole Middlebury Park fiasco. I'm proud of you guys. I'm very proud of you that you finally came to a decision, and I hope this whole town, including myself, will abide by whatever decision that you guys make. And I hope that would rectify anybody's feelings or hard feelings or ill feelings from this in the future, that we can have a nice, good old time with the rest of the residents in Franklin Township. Thank you very much. That was about it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. Mr. Anderson, 794 Hamilton Street. I've tried over the past, say, 10 years to address the sidewalk issues on Hamilton Street in front of our property. Basically, I get the runaround between the county and the town. Not our problem, the trees are the town, trees are the county. If you guys, I don't know if I'm dating myself, but maybe some people will remember that early 80s, late 70s, we had the town did sidewalk improvements along Hamilton Street. Shortly thereafter, they planted trees on Hamilton Street. The trees then started destroying the sidewalks. The town came along. I watched the town trucks remove the trees. So the county's argument that the trees don't belong to them sounds pretty good. The trees are lifting the sidewalks. Working there now, I see women having to push their carriages around our walkways. They're so bad. What I need is just some help, somebody that can get some direction. I left a phone message for Mr. Wright. I understand he's busy, but I need the help of somebody on the governing body to push and say this is either the county has to take care of these or the town has to take care of these. I can't fix the sidewalks without damaging the trees. The trees need to be addressed. They're going to destroy the walks. I was told by the county road crew that if I did damage the roots of these trees, I would be held responsible for that. I was told by the town that if it was anywhere else, just tell us when you have the sidewalks lifted and we'll come and take care of the trees for you. But not the case on Hamilton Street. I can tell you that, I witnessed Franklin plant those trees, so I understand the county's argument. I also witnessed the check being written for the sidewalk improvement and then the trees being planted and destroyed. Not a good choice on a part of the township. And I know that you guys have bonded or got a grant for new sidewalks going on somewhere. I would think that please don't plant trees that are shallow rooted along the new walkways you plant, or that you do. So if anybody could help get that straightened out, it's to the point that it's ridiculous, and it's all along Hamilton Street. And another thing is that the county is pruning those trees away from the power lines, and the power company's doing that. They're now in V's like this, leaning away from the power lines, over the street and the parking and over the sidewalk. It doesn't take anybody, doesn't take an arborist to tell you that those trees are just going to split, fall on the walk, or fall on somebody's car. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Mr. Anderson, I'm going to have our township manager, Mr. Vornlocker, and our attorney, Mr. Rayno, give you what could be done.
So, sir, this actually has been a recent discussion item at the Hamilton Street Advisory Board, which is now replaced the District Management Corporation. And the issue of the trees along Hamilton Street there's going to be a landscape plan done for Hamilton Street from Franklin Boulevard to the New Brunswick line, and many of those trees that you're discussing will be replaced with appropriate trees, street-side trees, as part of a joint effort with the Hamilton Street Advisory Board and the Shade Tree Commission. So that issue is being addressed as far as the plantings themselves. As far as the condition of the sidewalk, there was, under the guidance of the District Management Corporation, sidewalk repairs done within the last 2 years along that in several locations. And I can't speak for what's in front of your particular location. I can only tell you that there was a considerable amount of money that was spent by you don't need to, what I'm going to do is, what I want you to do is speak with the Executive Director at Hamilton Street Advisory Board, Vince Dominack, who's also our zoning official here, and you can meet with him and he'll go out and he'll take a look at what you're talking about, and then the sidewalks are ours, and the county doesn't take responsibility for sidewalks along Hamilton Street, and they have been repaired by the township in the past. So what I need you to do is just come over here when I'm done talking and give me your contact information, and then I'll have Mr. Dominack call you tomorrow. Okay?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
My name is Mary Patarace at 14 Gregory Lane, Franklin Park. Mr. Tibbs, I want to thank you for your words this evening about getting together on that last meeting, because there was a lot of tension, and I'm glad a lot has been resolved. I do have a question on Catalpa Park, on whether we know where the redesign plan is and what the time frame is for that. So if anyone has any information about that.
Okay, Mr. Vornlocker, it's going to the drawing board, but no time frame? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm wondering about the redesign plan for
The
Catalpa.
Catalpa is still at the engineer. So the redesign is not complete, and once it's done, the first step will be for it to be reviewed by the Land Use Subcommittee of Council, and then from that point forward, we'll take direction from Land Use as to where it goes next. And so but it is not complete at this point.
Do they have any time frame? Do they give you?
I'm hoping to have it within the next week or two.
Okay.
So that's what I'm guessing. But now, just understand that before it makes it to this room again, with a special hearing, my anticipation for that is not until sometime in 2015, but just based on the vetting process and all of the committees that it has to go through. It has to go through land use. We're now going to bring it through the planning board. It has to go through the open space advisory committee, has to go through rec council, it has to go through council review. So there's a number of places that it goes before it comes back here for a public hearing.
Okay.
So I wouldn't anticipate seeing that public hearing until sometime in the spring of 2015.
Okay.
Just based on committee schedules.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay?
And I do have one final statement. I did, Mr. Kramer, sign up for the Franklin Reporter, and it is actually a very interesting online newsletter. So I do appreciate you telling us about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And as you can see from the history on Catalpa and Middlebush, when that comes through, there'll be ample time for public to be noticed and have input. Yes, sir, come on.
Blair Wilson, 269 Gerard Avenue.
I just have a question about Castleton Park. Is there any plans for them to redo the park, the basketball courts?
They were just done. I have pictures of it today.
Oh, they did them over?
They were paved today. The engineers sent
Wow,
me pictures
great.
of the
Thank you.
basketball courts
Thank
and the tennis courts were about to get paved
Thank you.
later on this afternoon. He sent
Thank
me
you.
the picture this morning.
That's great, because we used to
So,
weed
yeah,
whack in the morning.
It's all brand new.
All right, that's great.
Are we good or are we good?
Yeah, you made my day.
Actually,
Fast service.
Mr. Varnlock gave him $10 to come up.
There's a bunch of old guys.
Yeah.
We played basketball for years there every Sunday morning.
You and I spoke. I thought your name sounded familiar
And,
because you were concerned about the
yeah,
condition of the basketball
yeah.
courts.
Yeah, I used to go there and say I was going to play with the old guys. Now
Right.
I'm the old guy.
Okay, good. No sooner said than done. Anyone else who wants to speak, who hasn't spoken before?
Mr. Mayor, upon seeing no hands going up for public comment, I make a motion to close the public comments portion.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. We're now at number 9 on the agenda, Standing Committee Reports. And as we adjusted our agenda before, we're going to go through our standing committees. Those are committees made up of council persons. And first, we're going to hear from our ad hoc committee on Middle Bush Park. So, Councilman Wright or Councilwoman Sherman, either one want to go first?
Yes, thank you
Councilwoman
very
Sherman,
much.
go ahead.
Thank you. And as the mayor said, Councilman Wright and I will be sharing the report that of what has happened. So let me just open it up by saying that I certainly would not have expected, by the tone of some of the comments made at the meeting 2 weeks ago, that things would have taken such a positive turn. But it is my distinct pleasure and delight to let you know that the committee that Deputy Mayor Regan alluded to has really moved in a very, very positive direction. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the background and bring you up to the trial that was held at Middle Bush Park, and then I'm going to hand it off to Councilman Wright to talk about the next steps. So a team was formed within the week of the council meeting, and it was made up of 4 council people, Councilwoman Francois, Councilman Ted Chase, Councilman Wright, and myself. It was made up of 3 residents from the Charles Street and Grogan Street area, 2 of them who are here tonight, Ellen and Brian, and thank you for your service. And then there were 3 from Pop Warner. I don't know, Councilman Wright, if there's anyone here from that part of the committee you want to recognize.
Councilman Sherman, I don't see anyone here in my audience because it's back to school night.
Okay, all right.
So they're not here today.
And then we had one person who was an independent who was neither Pop Warner nor a resident of those 2 streets and the township. What we did on the 19th of October, we met at Middle Bush Park. There was a series of games being played that day. The township manager and our director of public works were in communication with regard to the level of sound for the speakers at that game. The rest of the committee was stationed along with the township manager, who communicated by a walkie-talkie. We were stationed at the home of Brian Bidlack, whose home is the closest to the field. And what the township manager and the public works director did was adjusted the sound from the press booth, going from, and I don't know what these numbers mean, but number 5 to 10, 10 being the loudest. 5 is the normal level at which games are projected through the speaker. And the idea was that not to be able to hear the speakers beyond the border of the township park, of Middle Bush Park. And I thought to me, that was a very tall order. It was really something that had been talked about here for quite a while. We had an expert who said that was possible. I know Councilman Kramer was pushing for that solution, but there were some of us who were skeptical, and I am delighted, beyond delighted. I am just amazed to report that when the speakers were used at the level 5, you could not hear it at the home of Mr. Bidlack, and then we moved down to Gauguin, and we couldn't hear it at Gauguin. So there was, the committee was delighted. The other piece, just to balance it, was totally audible at the bleachers, and it was the way it had been broadcast all that time. So all I can say is that we found a potentially very win-win solution. It would protect the quality of life of the residents and allow the recreation, the Pop Warner Group, to have the speakers that they very much wanted. So I again, am very grateful to the team for working together as well as they did. We're going to hope that we form a bond and we can always stay in communication so that if there are issues, we can work it out and never get to that point again where we're not listening to one another. So with that, I'm going to ask Councilman Wright if he would bring us to the next steps and where we go from here.
Thank you, Councilman Sherman. The next step is really up to our township manager, and it'll be very quick. It probably won't happen until next week. But basically what we want to do is procure the sound system and the speakers, and for the township manager to go out during the day, afternoon, late afternoon, when all the residents are gone, so that when we go out to do the test, we can just blow the roof off and figure out exactly what's going to happen. And then from there, I think we're going to go to the Rutgers at that point.
I'm going to ask.
So my thoughts were on this, that, and we had discussed this at the Monday ad hoc committee meeting following the Sunday testing, was that we run tests similar to what we ran on Sunday, but without any game time noise, and do it when the ambient sound was in fact what the ambient sound is when we were in the park, and I was there with the gentleman from Rutgers, Mr. Zwirling, which was close to what it was when we were out on Sunday, but a couple decibels lower. And run those tests again and run it at various levels of sound through the system and see if we could replicate what we experienced on Sunday. And we still plan on doing that, and the ad hoc committee will be notified when that's done, and I'll give you ample time. But Councilman Wright and I both need to be there. Councilman Wright needs to run the sound system while I'm there with the gentleman with the noise meter. So we'll find a date that works for both of us and then get that information out to the ad hoc committee. And then from that point, if we're moving forward, and I'm sure that the ad hoc committee will discuss this with full council as we move forward, that if in fact we decide that we're going to go ahead with a sound system in the park, then I would confer with Mr. Zwirling to develop specifications that would meet the needs of the council. So yes, if that kind of covers it all for me, I think.
So it will
That
keep
covers
people
it for me.
updated, right?
I'm sorry?
We'll continue to keep people updated
Right.
as things.
As we move along, we'll keep everyone up to date.
So if I might just make one closing comment on this issue. During the trial at Middlebush Park, I was in the car with one of the residents who expressed his gratitude for what was happening and how we were moving forward. But what he said to me, I think, went back to some of the issues that came out at the meeting, the first meeting here in the council chamber 2 weeks ago. What he said was they had heard the Pop Warner speakers last year, but they didn't think they could complain about it. They didn't think that anyone would listen to them. They just had to live with it. And I just want to give that message to everyone. If you have a problem, if you have an issue, come and complain about it. That's what our job is. That's what we're here for. We're not favoring one group over another group, but they complained. And if you don't tell us, we don't know. So this has turned out to be a wonderful resolution. And again, my gratitude to the team and the township, but my message to the residents is come and let us know if you have a problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now we go back to our standing committee reports, the first of which is administration. Councilwoman Francois?
So the admin committee met, and we decided that we should have a council retreat at the beginning of next year. So we are recommending, and that's to define the council goals and objectives and provide those to the township manager to implement during the year 2015. So we're looking at Anne Marie. We're looking at the last Saturday in January, which is January 31st, 2015, or the first Saturday in February, which is February 7th.
My calendar doesn't go that far.
We haven't had a council retreat in a couple of years, so we're thinking that it's very imperative that we meet and define our goals and objectives for next year. So would you like to poll the council on which would be a better date?
Okay, so you're suggesting Saturday, the 31st of January, or Saturday, the 7th of February?
Yes.
Did you have a time frame? Like what time to what time?
Like, let's say from 10 to 3 or
No,
so? 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Saturday.
Saturday afternoon? Okay.
Good rest.
All right. That sounds even better. So 1 o'clock? Okay.
1 to 4?
1 to 4?
1 to 4.
Okay. So, I guess in general, is anyone inclined towards the 31st or the 7th? Okay. Okay, you want to do it that way? Just, it's, Madam Clerk, if you could just poll the council and we'll say 31st, 7th, or both. And we've always been very respectful of council members, see if we can be as inclusive as we can.
I don't have anything beyond this.
Councilman Chase?
At this distance in time, I see no reason why I couldn't attend on either of those dates.
Councilwoman Francois?
I'm flexible on either date. One maybe we'll shoot for the 31st. If it's a snow, we'll have a snow date of the 7th.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Councilman Kramer?
Either.
Mayor Levine?
Yeah, same, either one works.
Councilman Prasad?
Either one.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Since I know it's going to snow on the 31st, I'm going to go for the 7th.
Councilwoman Sherman?
I agree with Councilwoman Francois' suggestion, the 31st, and then the 7th as the
Snow.
snow date.
Okay.
And Councilman Wright?
Okay, so I guess for now, I guess in December, we adopt the schedule for 2015? Okay, so I guess it'll be the 31st of January, timeframe indicated with the snow date of the 7th. Okay.
And Mr. Von Locker, we're thinking that it's really no need for the department heads to be a part of that discussion. Okay? It's going to
Very
be
good.
fully the council coming in with what they want their priorities to be for the township, what their vision and mission is for the township for 2015. So we'll all come prepared, ready to dig in and brainstorm and leave that session with some goals and objectives for the year. Okay? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'll just interject that, very good, setting the strategic plan for the town and then implementing it throughout the year. Excellent. Okay. So next we have 9B, Financial Oversight Committee. Councilman Kramer, I guess?
Sure, why not? I'm trying to put in my my council retreat dates. So I have two items. So every year at the reorg, January 1st-ish, we award professional service contract, for example, the township attorney, the prosecutor, the tax attorney. The Financial Oversight Committee was asked how we want to go about it this year, what the framework would be. And the Financial Oversight Committee itself, that just the three members that were there that night, indicated that we were all satisfied with our current lineup of people, and that we advise council to instruct the manager to send letters to each of the current professionals asking if they intend to apply for next year. And then if there's any holes, we can go from there.
I would just, one slight correction, actually, that's the responsibility of the clerk, and I think that the direction
Okay,
would go
sorry.
to her.
Yes.
You're welcome, Anne Marie.
So unless council members object to that, or if the mayor wants to poll the council.
Okay, and then basically that we'll send a letter to all current, see if we want to?
To see if they want to, and if perhaps they don't, then we might
Okay. If
want to
that's-
take action from there.
If there's no objection, we consider that by acclamation. Is that okay? And go ahead, pardon me. Oh, may I? Because as we said in finance, no matter what anyone says, of course, it's any council person's prerogative to
Certainly.
make a motion for anyone else for that person or anyone else on that date.
Yep.
Okay, pardon me, Councilman Kramer, go ahead.
Certainly. The other thing was the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, has, well, they are the commission that controls when certain entities ask for financing from the public, stocks, et cetera. They're the ones that control the information or put requirements on the information that those companies or entities put out so that investors can decide whether they want to invest in those entities or not. They are looking at towns now, and towns ask for investors when we put out bonds. So they are looking at towns, and they have come up with a number of requirements for towns to disclose various items about the towns. So the Financial Oversight Committee is asking for the direction to the township manager, and I'm pretty sure it's the township manager this time, to hire someone to do that for us. The reasons are two. It's pretty complicated, and you don't want to get it wrong, because then the SEC can come down on you and say you've done something improper. That could affect bond ratings, et cetera. We are now AA+, and we don't want to affect that. The other thing, we feel it would be more open than if we were to submit it, to have an outside agency look at us, and they would submit that information. That's more open to our investors, and it kind of keeps us on our toes, saying, gee, we better make sure everything is up to snuff for when they do that. So we recommend that the manager send out or go through the proper steps to try to secure bids for that, and then we would have to look at the bids and see the costs of it. But the Financial Oversight Committee did not feel appropriate that they direct the manager, so again, we need council direction in that. How'd I do?
You got it.
Okay.
Do
So,
we-
same kind of, I think the same thing, ask if
Okay,
there
so
are any
yeah, so
objections
if
or
there's no
acclamation.
objection, I'll consider that by acclamation. Did I do that okay? That's legal, okay.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And now, 9C, Public Safety.
Mr. Mayor, as part of
Deputy
my...
Mayor Brian Regan.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Mayor, as part of my deputy mayor report, I actually reported on the item that was addressed in the public safety, which was the arranging the meeting for the Ebola coordination within the town. So that's the only update from public safety.
Okay, thank you. So 9D, Land Use, Open Space, Parks, and Recreation.
Okay, I'm doing land
Councilman
use.
Prasad?
I have been a member of the Land Use Committee for a good 8 years. And, I used to defer to everybody else, so now I get to give the report. I inherited it when nobody else wanted it. Yeah. So the canal access bridge behind the diner is something that is needed, and we've been working on it. And on March 2012, the zoning board actually approved a subdivision that allows you to have a canal access pathway and a pedestrian walkway to get to the pedestrian bridge that would be built eventually when we find funding, and also approval from the Somerset County Planning Board. And you have a resolution in your packet for today on that we would request the planning board to resolve the matter as quickly as possible. It's been pending for quite a long time. So I would urge you to pass that resolution. Dunn and Gunther, the manager reviewed the deed with the township attorney, and we find out that there are deed restrictions on the active recreation being prohibited there. So that is not an option for active recreation. Now, the updates on the parks. Middlebush Park, there's fence construction that is expected to start within a week. And with discussion with the neighbors, planting will be done of trees in the spring. Since they're mature, large trees, that's what's going to be required. And Arlington Park basically would require a concept plan, and this could be done in-house. And we do need to direct the manager on developing the concept plans for Arlington. So I'd like to make a motion to direct the manager to develop these concept plans so that it's not just the land use committee, but everybody. So, or can we do them?
No, we can do that. If there's no objection again, is that done by acclamation? Ms. McCarthy and to our manager, Mr. Fornlocker?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So with that, we move on. Castleton, as the manager's already reported, construction started in late September. Basketball courts are expected, well, they were done today. And the old hockey rinks have been converted back to tennis courts, where I used to play tennis. And the color striping and coating will be done in the spring because it won't hold over the winter.
Thermoplastic.
And we are also going to stripe them. In fact, as a policy, we're going to stripe all tennis courts for pickleball. So there'll be enough pickleball for Councilwoman Sherman.
You'd be surprised. It's growing.
Okay, so with that, the committee has recommended that the parking lot at Middlebush Park be paved and that this be done, added to an upcoming council agenda, which is here. I think we have it, or we need to put a whatever.
I think that so certainly it has been discussed at
Right.
Several land use committee meetings, And I think it's been discussed amongst council as well about the need and what was the desire initially with the parking lot and what we see now, the need to pave it.
Right.
And so I'm just looking for direction from council to move ahead so that we can begin the bid process.
Right.
And have it done in the spring.
And we'd like to do the same thing, Mr. Mayor, is direct the manager to be ready to pave in the spring and have it done as soon as possible.
Okay, if no objection, consider that by acclamation. So, Mr. Bornlucker, you have it. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
And that concludes the land use report.
Okay, thank you. And now the final of the standing committees, 9E, Public Works. Councilman Chase.
Yeah. I had a nice report all written out and then forgot to bring it, but I think I can cover the main points we met on.
Oh, you are, okay.
Now, I was afraid Councilman Regan had inadvertently turned it off, but no.
No, Ted, Councilman, I would not do that to you.
Only by mistake. Two major things. One is that there's been an unexpected additional expense. We met on October 10th. I was ready to make it report last time, but we had other things to hear. The Berry Street pumping station, it's a new pumping station. There's an unexpected additional expense of, I think it was approximately $140,000 because the soil there turned out to be contaminated, had to be removed to wherever contaminated soil goes, and this entails additional expense. Second and bigger thing, as you know, we've been trying to replace the water line down Route 27 below 518 to Little Rocky Hill. Our consulting engineer met with the State Department of Transportation, and they took the position that, no, we can't use the trench where the existing water line is in the under the shoulder of the road. They want us to put it in a new trench under the travel lane. They think there may be a concrete base under the existing highway, and if so, they want us to completely remove all of the concrete and completely reconstruct the entire travel lane for the entire length of this project. And this would obviously add such a huge amount to the project that I don't see how we could do it. So I've approached Assemblyman Danielson, and I think we should approach State Senator Smith and Assemblyman Egan to work over the Department of Transportation to rescind this really rather irrational proposal. Well, irrational in terms of total expense of public funds. Obviously, from their point of view, they're looking to have the road reconstructed at our expense. I don't think the travel lanes need reconstruction, and obviously putting the water line under the travel lane would involve more disruption of traffic than putting it on the shoulder. So, remains to be seen what will happen of that. The other item discussed, brought up somewhat, really more appropriate for the Land Use Committee, but we had been trying to get an LOI for Dunn and Gunther, and we heard what Councilman Prasad has said, that on study of the deed for Dunn and Gunther, we cannot use those properties for active recreation. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. If everyone will indulge me a moment, just because I was reminded when we talked about the retreat, I'm going to ask Ms. McCarthy to, I guess, by the next meeting or two, do you need the date of our reorganization? Because on a non-election year, often we'll do it not on the 1st. Do you want to bring that up next time? Or do you need that by November?
We usually have it as a discussion item at the first meeting in November.
Okay, so fine. That's all. All right, thank you. Okay, so next we go to item number 10, council comments. So I guess we'll start over here. Councilman Phil Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Canal Fest was on October 18th. It was extremely successful. The manager, a former police officer and official estimator of crowd sizes, I think he has a certificate for that. I am embarrassed to say how many he came up with, so I will just say many thousands of people were there. I was extremely happy with the outcome, and the weather turned out very well for it. That segues to my head. As you recall, I promised that if on-site they raised $2,000 that day, then I would, on the stage, have my head shaven, and they reached $5,400. So you see the result of that. Mercifully, they didn't shave it down to the skull, but that was their own decision. On Middlebush Park, I am very happy with the outcome that Councilwoman Sherman offered. I'm happy that with the math turning out right, that in fact you can construct a system that cannot be heard in the at the resident's home. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite sayings that is not a popular saying, but is that Dorothy had to go to Oz to find out there was no place like home. I think at the very beginning of this, it would have been very difficult for people to come together and come to this agreement. That meeting, our last council meeting, while very contentious, started out very contentious, and then I believe it was Nancy Sayer put out the first idea of, can't we come up with a compromise? And people then began to see each other's side. So that was very heartening, and I'm glad we are moving along on that. Happy Halloween, happy Election Day. And then my last item is on a much more somber issue that the Deputy Mayor broached earlier, and that is on Ebola. Ebola has been in the news. It has been an issue of people being somewhat frightened about, and the word hysteria has been used. I recall, it makes me recall back to my med school days. That happened to be the time that the hysteria started about AIDS. And I was in on many a discussion amongst doctors about what the role of doctors would be, how they would be involved, whether they would wear gloves, et cetera, because there was a lot of fear. The advantage of this over AIDS, HIV infection, is that this is a virus that has been around has been known for about 40 years. And HIV was new to us, so we did not know it. I'm not going to tell people, they can watch the news and they can see all the experts speak, and I'm not going to tell people how they should think of this or what their level should be. But what I want to relate to you are the tools you might use to judge for yourself. I think what's very important is that we have seen in the United States, 4 people have come down with it while in the United States, or at least first shown symptoms while in the United States. Mr. Duncan, who unfortunately died, 2 of the nurses that cared for him, and then a doctor who flew over from Africa after working with Doctors Without
Doctors Beyond Borders, Doctors Without Borders. There was a great deal of concern about how much would spread. I think Mr. Duncan, who unfortunately died of this, is a great example. He came into the hospital, he was sent home with a fever, and he spent 2 more days at home before coming into the hospital. And none of his family members, who I would think would have more than casual contact with him, came down with Ebola. Then the nurse flew on the plane. We're yet to hear anything about that, about anyone on the plane contracting it. The other nurse had, I believe, a boyfriend or fiance. I've not heard anything about that. Those are the things to watch. I will not tell you what to conclude from that, but I will tell you the fact that it has not spread has given me a great deal of solace and less concern about the spread at the early stages. Clearly, the people who were in care of Mr. Duncan when it was late in the stage, a lot of bodily fluids, and a high virus load, that's a different story. But I hope that people will look at the casual contact or the family contact of some of these people who we've known have been affected and use that to judge on your own what the risk of being out in public and being near someone who just came down with a fever, what those risks are. So I'm hoping that that will stem some of the concerns of people, but I'll let you be your own judges on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Ted Chase.
I wanted to just add a little bit to Councilwoman Sherman's report about the ad hoc committee and really about the rationale for having a township specified and owned sound system at Middlebush Park. As you heard during our testing, we really did not hear the music or the announcements at the boundaries of the park when the present portable sound system was set at 5 on, I think there's 2 different ways the sound is, the volume of sound is controlled. Yet, nearby residents have in the past very clearly heard sound from that sound system. The logical conclusion is that that system can be and has been on one or more occasions adjusted to a level where it was bothersome to neighbors. And the best way to ensure that the sound system is adequate for the Pop Warner program, and but it is not a bother to the neighbors of the park, is to have a township-controlled system, and once it is set at a level which meets those specifications, that it can be essentially locked and can't be adjusted above that point, so that we could then really assure the neighbors that they should not hear it anymore. I did receive a communication from one neighbor to the north, Shilling Lane, concerned about hearing it, who again had heard it there in the past. So I'm hoping that the manager, when conducting further tests, will also conduct a test up at that edge of Middlebush Park. I don't foresee that it, under the conditions we had in the last test, there should be any problem up there, but again, it is desirable to assure the neighbors that they should not hear it in the future, which actually comes to a bit of commentary on what Councilman Creamer has just said, that although this is really above and beyond anything that this council decides on, but that as policies are decided for the quarantining of people returned from Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, there has to be a balance between the rights of those people, particularly healthcare workers who have volunteered to go there, the rights of those people returning from those countries who feel and demonstrate that they are not sick, and the right of the general public to feel safe. I think these decisions should be made primarily by doctors and public health officials, not primarily by elected officials without expertise, but public officials, of course, are sensitive to the concerns of the public, the desire of the public to feel safe. And I think that perhaps what is needed the most is further reiteration of what Councilman Kramer has said, of the evidence that contact, that spreading the disease through contact at its very earliest stages is at the point where an illness is first recognized is extremely difficult. It's the later stages, as we hear it spread through bodily fluids, when these bodily fluids are being lost in various ways, that it is very contagious, but that is something that should occur only within isolation units of hospitals. So I hope that as time develops, that the quarantine regulations will be based on what is recommended by the Centers for Disease Control, and that the rest of us can all feel safe from that. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I just have to say that as a member of that ad hoc committee, I was very, very happy and pleased about the collaboration and participation and commitment of the members that on that ad hoc committee and the results of the test on October 19th. And I think it really is a testimony of how government can work for the people. So there was not anybody that left there that day that felt like a PA system would not be acceptable, a permanent solution, and that it would be achievable, that it's solvable, and that if we did it the right way, the sound could be heard even on the side of the bleachers of the visiting team as well as the home team, and that the sound could also be indiscernible at the property line. So I'm looking forward to the final expedient resolution of this issue, and I think it really is a testament that there is such a thing, government by the people, for the people, and of the people, and we can do this in Franklin Township. So I left there that day very, very pleased and happy that we're going to be able to move forward with a win-win solution. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things. We had a Diwali Mela here, and it was at the Garden State Exhibit Center, and our deputy chief was there, and we were able to do the lamp lighting and inauguration of it. And so it is people coming to Franklin, and which is good, that we are recognizing our diversity and people are coming here. I was also at the Canal Fest. I did miss the haircut, but I had to go to this Diwali Mela inauguration.
There wasn't much here.
27 seconds.
My congratulations to the Middlebush Park Ad Hoc Committee for doing a great job in resolving the whole issue. My thanks to Sue Van Aken for her years of service. My children and family all benefited from the recreational needs and programs that the township has provided over the years, and I can't say enough in my thanks to them all. And I applaud the sponsors of the Week of the People, and thank them for supporting our Week of the People program. And we'll see how the new program works with the one-day consolidated celebration. If we publicize it enough, I think we'll do great with that one. I also wanted to thank Police Officer Dawn Flanders for her great DARE programs that she used to do. The DARE is no longer there, but my daughter used to be part of that at the high school. And so I want to thank her because the young kid that did the Rush non-smoking banner basically was inspired by her. And so I want to thank her because it is counselors and people like Officer Don Flanders that actually make a difference to these kids, and they're mentors. So with that, and she's also part of the Human Relations Commission and the Alliance and the Youth Services Commission as well. So I want to thank her for all her inspiration to the kids, and wanted to wish everybody a happy Halloween and a safe one. And Election Day is coming up, and I would urge everyone to get out there and vote. And with that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Rosalind Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's been a very good couple of weeks for the residents of Franklin Township. As you heard, we've come up with what I see as a very win-win workable solution for Middlebush Park. And then 2 days prior to that meeting on the 19th, on 10/17, the appellate court upheld the ban on the electronic billboard that would have been erected on Route 287. Where the first issue was a win-win, unfortunately, the second one was a win-lose. And of course, my feelings for the person who didn't win, obviously, no one likes to be in that position, but I think this was the absolute right thing for our community, for our residents. This is a precedent-setting decision. It's the only one at this point that we're aware of in which a court has ruled that a municipality can rule against a electronic billboard, and it will be used by many communities, I assume, as time goes on, should they choose not to have electronic billboards. I do want to thank the people who made this happen, including the council. But in particular, I would like to thank the volunteers who helped get out and knock on doors and get our residents aware of this potential issue. A great job was done by our attorney, Lou Ranone, who deserves a tremendous amount of credit. And I also would like to thank Mark Healy, our Director of Planning. His testimony was quoted extensively in the decision. The decision was based on the fact that Franklin Township, had the right to maintain our rural and historic character by not putting up an electronic billboard at what is the gateway, exit 10 off of the 287 to our community. That it is actually a driver distraction. They don't want us looking at our cell phones, so why would they want us taking our eyes off the road and looking at a board that changes every 8 seconds? It does present hazards. And it is a victory for our residents because the quality of life would have been very much affected by that rotating billboard 24 hours a day with lights on their streets and in some cases on their windows, So I'm very pleased for our residents and for our township and for the rest of the country that will be able to use this for their own purposes down the road. And again, I don't know whether our attorney heard, but I thank you very much, Mr. Anone, for your excellent job in taking care of this for the township. Yes, well deserved. A couple of other quick things. I also attended Canal Fest, and this time I went with my son, daughter-in-law, my 4-year-old grandson, and he had a blast. There were so many things there for him to do. A climbing wall, and so many things were free. It was really a delight. It was a wonderful, wonderful family event. I'm sure the adults enjoyed it too, but it made it even better watching my 4-year-old grandson just getting such pleasure out of it. Several of us took advantage of a bus provided by our new Assemblyman, Joe Danielson, to go to Trenton for his swearing in. It was a very, very gratifying event, someone we all know quite well, and we're really pleased and know he will do a great job for our community and the 17th District. Also, just a quick mention about pickleball. I know the first time I mentioned pickleball at this podium, there were some snickers, like, what on earth is pickleball? Well, it has really blown me away how popular it is. My own community, many of the adult communities have people who go to Florida and in the winter, the snowbirds, and it seems to be very popular in Florida, and they brought it back. In my community, they have 50 people who have signed up for the pickleball club. They have been using the courts at the Colonial Park tennis courts in the meantime until we get the ones in Castleton Park built. But I don't even think those are going to be enough, because once the other adult communities get into it, it's really going to grow. It's going to be like cricket one of these days. But the thing is, it's not just for the seniors. It is good for the seniors because it's a shortened court. You don't have to run as far. But there are many of our young people who are playing this game too. So I think we caught the trend really before it got to be all that popular. So I'm very pleased our community has responded to this, and I thank everyone for allowing that to happen. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following up on Councilwoman Sherman's comments, congratulations to Joe Danielson for becoming our Assemblyman for the 17th Legislative District. It really is critical. It's very important in the sense that he, as he said, he grew up here in Franklin. He is from Franklin. And to have someone represent us in Trenton, you know, we couldn't think of a finer person to do it for the residents of Franklin. So I'm just very happy for him and for the residents of Franklin Township. Having said that, at this point, I will conclude my council comments because I'm sure folks are getting tired.
Okay, thank you. And now for my comments. And I didn't want to internally relitigate the billboard issue, but now I have to answer it. I'll start with, and I really didn't want to, because thought it was gone. Okay, $250,000 later, we're looking at this billboard issue. I could have paid for 2 police officers. I could have built a park. I could have built part of my sidewalks. But we paid to litigate. No shovels in the ground, no employees, no anything. And I'm going to look at my watch. It says 2014. This is the 21st century. I dare say in 20 years, every billboard in the country being built is going to be digital, just like everything else. The losers here, I don't think are the residents. If this were an issue of billboards versus no billboards, I would have said no, as I did years ago. Law said we have to have a billboard, so we have it. So the question is it a floodlight or is it internally lit? Just like the sound system we spoke about, it can be controlled. A floodlight can't be. Internally lit can be. The losers, the Chamber of Commerce, they came out in favor of it originally because they wanted their messages up there. We wanted to encourage tourism. We wanted to encourage people to come to our businesses. We wanted PSAs for the town to tell them to locate their business here, to advertise Franklin Day, to advertise Canal Fest, to give amber alerts, to give silver alerts, to tell people when roads were flooded or things that were happening, or even to alter their traffic, and we don't have any of that anymore. Idea of safety, there is no definitive study either way on that. All I know is U.S. highways and New Jersey highways, 287 particularly, allow them. If it were really a safety issue, I dare say it wouldn't have been allowed. And I'll remind everyone, the council originally voted to go ahead on this 7-2 and then turn themselves around. A couple weeks later, it's the council person's prerogative to change his or her mind. I don't mind that, but I'm just saying everyone was on board with that. Just like before I appointed Mr. Danielson to the planning board, the council voted to kick him off of it. And with my one power of appointment, I put him on back when. So that's all. If we want to keep on going for the next few hours on the billboard, I'm happy to do that. And I'll just say, as far as Middle Bush Park, I think there was a good solution to the whole thing, as was said, I think, virtually unanimously going ahead. And for the residents, the recreation, and a good model. And as was said to the people for Catalpa, yes, it's going back to the drawing board, and as is our history, there will be public hearings, there will be options to look at that publicly. And that concludes my comments. So now I'll ask if our township manager, Mr. Vornlocker, has anything for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have 2 quick things. One, on your council discussion items and in your packets today are things related to flood mitigation. As a result of the township taking an aggressive position on flood mitigation in the town, we were just recently had our 5-year revaluation done by the Insurance Services Office Community Rating System on our 100-year flood zone. Our category has been reduced from 7 to 6. And this doesn't mean a whole lot to you or me, but what it will mean something to are people who live in the 100-year flood zone in Franklin Township will now receive a 20% discount on their flood insurance, and people who live outside of the 100-year flood zone but still have flood insurance will see their discounts go from 5% to 10%. So it is a cost savings to all of our residents who have the flood insurance through the federal flood insurance program, and so that's a good thing for them. And I want to thank our senior engineer, Scott Thomas, who does all of that work on flood mitigation and works with the Millstone Raritan Flood Control Commission as well. And he does a lot of hard work on that, and it has resulted in some cost savings for some of our taxpayers who require flood insurance. And the second thing is just kind of a recognition. Apparently October is a good month to be on council because 3 of you had birthdays. So happy birthday, going down the the list there, Councilman Wright, Deputy Mayor Regan, and Councilwoman Francois all celebrated birthdays in the month of October, so happy birthday to all of you.
Who?
I believe you did.
No.
According to your records in the Township of Franklin, you did. So you might want to check with personnel.
Which ID did you hand in?
I'm January the 15th.
Not according to the records in the personnel department. You might need to talk to Raven about that.
I'm trying to do that one.
It also said he was 19.
It was the real important council people that celebrated their birthday.
And there you have it. The Councilwoman Francois at 29, I believe, and we won't speak about the deputy mayor.
And holding.
No, we won't.
But we're the same age.
Well, all he knows is you could put two nickels on the table, and pretty much that's it.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, that's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. While you were giving your report, a person or two leaned over to me and said, I overestimated, or my information on the billboard costs was off, perhaps by a factor of 2. I'll look it up and find out. I apologize if my numbers were incorrect. I still stand by I didn't want to spend anything, but if I'm wrong, I apologize for that. So now we'll go to council discussion items. 12A, 2014 Flood Mitigation Status Report. It's council discussion, but it was put in our package for anyone. So if anyone has questions, we can go over it. If not, we've accepted it, I guess, or we've just discussed it. That's all we have to do? Okay. So any discussion? Nope. Okay. So similarly, 2014 Best Practices Inventory, 12B. Best practices is something the state gives us on items we do in the municipality. This being given to council, the local finance board is given to us. The details, again, have been given to us, and we're required to have a discussion on it. So we all have that. That's obviously a public record. All right, is there any discussion on that? Questions?
Nope.
Oh, Councilman Chase.
Yeah, I've just been reading it over. While most of the items, I think we just trust staff that they're really doing what it says there. Some of those I wonder about. For instance, item number 11, which would suggest that we have an annual discussion of the wisdom of maintaining a separate authority, to wit, the sewage authority. And while I know there have been some informal discussions of that, I don't know whether we've had any, let alone annual formal discussions of that. Although probably we don't need them, but if the state thinks we do, maybe we should. Item number 28, do we have a written policy on our surplus? I know Councilman Kramer has the entire policy in his head, but I'm wondering if we have a written policy. Item 24 is about energy aggregation, and I continue to want to forward discussion and implementation of that. I guess we had one discussion that didn't go anywhere from that. Items about the how early in the year we get our budget adopted. Can we do better than we have been doing on that? So I just think I'd like to see council continue to pay attention to all of the items in this list and see if we can do better on a number of them, whatever we tell the state. Because some of these state requirements, I think, are unduly restrictive or demanding, and but they ask us, and we have to reply to get all of our annual, quote, state aid, unquote.
Sure, I'm sorry.
I put it in quotes because so much of it is money that was always supposed to be returned to the municipalities, but that the governor hangs on to.
Councilman Chase, that may be something you might want to bring as input to the council retreat. if there's some things you want to talk about. Okay.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you. So now we go to item number 12C, change of polling location. Consulate admissions, due to problem, will be changed to Franklin Park School. Thank you, Board of Education, Districts 30 to 34. Ms. McCarthy, our clerk, do you want to fill us in on those details, please?
Yes, last Wednesday, we found out that Consulate Admissions is having a heating issue that will not be corrected prior to Election Day, so we had to find a new location for 5 districts, and the Board of Education was generous enough to allow us to use Franklin Park School on Election Day. So districts 30 through 34 will all be at Franklin Park School. They have a gym annex with a separate entrance so that none of the children will be disturbed during school hours. Notification has gone out. We've mailed out postcards. They went out this morning to all 4,000 plus registered voters in those 5 districts. There'll be displayed notices in the Courier News and the Home News. The information's on all over the website, all over social media, our TV station, and IT has even thought about we may do the reverse telephone in those 5 districts. Even though not everybody's a registered voter, everybody will get a phone call saying that the locations have been changed. We had to get approval from Somerset County to change the location, which we got that day. But they came back with a recommendation that they wanted a person staffed at Consolata in case anybody that doesn't get the message that it's been relocated to redirect them to Franklin Park. The township manager and I discussed this, and since Election Day is a holiday, if we just put a regular person out there, a regular staff person, they would get 2.5 times their hourly rate. It would be more cost beneficial and also better safety-wise, since the majority of the day, in the beginning, at the end, or in the dark, to station a police officer at Consolata. And that's what I'm asking direction or consensus from council, that we put that police officer at Consolata.
It's for the off-hour rate.
He'll be there. It'll be special.
Right.
It would be the off-duty security rate, correct. So, and that's what makes it more cost-effective than paying the holiday overtime rate to a municipal employee other than an off-duty rate officer, yes.
So this being my ward and my people, I so move that we do that.
Second
for
it.
Safety.
Deputy Mayor Regan, did you?
No, I was going to say, there was a motion and a
okay.
second, so.
Okay, moved and seconded. If no discussion, all in favor of, as Ms. McCarthy stated it, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. McCarthy, on? Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, so now we get to item number 13, approval of minutes. We do not have any for the meeting. So next we come to item 14, warrants. Warrants are the bills that we pay. So warrants in the amount of $1,344,062.80 on October 28th, 2014 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is there a motion to pay the warrants as read?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Now, we have one public hearing and second reading. Ordinances generally go into law after 2 votes. The first vote is taken where it's introduced, and the second vote comes usually the next meeting, within the next meeting or 2. And at that second meeting, we have a public hearing where people can speak on that ordinance. And if it passes the second time, then it goes into law. So we'll only have one today, which is a public hearing and adoption of ordinance on second reading. This is item 15A on the agenda, ordinance 4087-14, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Appendix Chapter A 401, Telecommunications Franchise, amending Appendix Article 6, Level 3 Communications LLC. This is for Level 3 Communications LLC, renewing fiber optics for them. We have to do it by ordinance. The township attorney has approved the affidavit of publication. The public hearing is in order. Is there a motion to open the meeting for a public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on this particular ordinance. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor, upon seeing no one coming forward, I make a motion to close the public session on this.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for this ordinance. Thank you. Is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 15A, ordinance 4087-14, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, motion is carried. We have only one ordinance introduction today. That's 16A on the agenda, ordinance 4089-14. It's an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Code Chapter 112, Land Development, Article 38, provisions applicable to Planning Board and Zoning Board of Adjustment to require submission of digital copies of application materials. Basically, instead of a bunch of paper copies, we're now going to require applicants to submit their applications to planning and zoning boards electronically. It makes it a lot more efficient and cost-effective for us. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, November 10th, right?
Monday, November 10th.
Monday, we moved that, right? Okay. Thank
No, it was always Monday, November 10th because Veterans Day is a holiday.
Okay, thank you, that's right, okay. Monday, November 10th, 2014, at 7 o'clock here p.m., at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. I'm going to make my own interjection because I forgot earlier. Thank you so much. Usually, our meetings are the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. In November, it will be the second Monday, November 10th, not that Tuesday. Okay, thank you. So is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on item 16A, ordinance 4089-14, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, motion is carried. We now have our consent agenda, items 17A through 17R. Consent agenda are items of generally routine nature that can be voted on at one time. It's any councilperson's prerogative, of course, to discuss any item or pull any item off for a separate vote. So is there a motion for the consent agenda or discussion?
Motion for the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on the consent agenda, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, motion is carried. We now have item number 18, resolutions voted on separately, of which we do not have any this evening. Item 19, old business, 2014 board and commission vacancies.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Prasad.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Sharon Pushti to the Advisory Board of Health. And you have her paperwork in your packet.
Okay. And as
And
Councilman...
she is
Pardon me, go ahead.
a Franklin High School graduate that we should be very proud of. She's investing a lot with the Youth Empowerment Group, as well as is finishing her pharmacy degree in a 5-year program to become a doctor at Rutgers. So is committed to healthcare as well and would like to serve on the Health Advisory Board.
I'd like to second that nomination.
Yes. Excellent candidate.
Okay. Thank you. And Councilman Prasad referred to, we have the citizen leadership form. Everyone fills that out, so we all know if anyone wants to be nominated. So Ms. Sharon Pucci for our Advisory Board of Health. Are there other nominations for this for the Advisory Board of Health. We'll say that. If not, all in favor of Ms. Pucci by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Thank you and congratulations to Ms. Pucci. We look forward to your help with the town, and as Councilman Prasad described, probably a long and illustrious career. Any other nominations? Councilman Chase.
Now, I see that we do have finally the citizen leadership form and resume of Frank Aiello, whom the Historic Preservation Commission has recruited to serve as, I think, the open position there as an alternate, and I believe he participated at least in the meeting before last. I wasn't at the last meeting, but he is someone the Historic Preservation Commission would like, as you can see if you have a chance to look at his CV. He he's an architect with graduate certification in historic preservation, so he's certainly a well-qualified member for the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. So I would like to nominate him.
Okay. So, Mr. Aiello for the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee.
Seconded.
Okay. Any other nominations for this position? If not, all in favor of Mr. Aiello by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Congratulations, and again, thank you to Mr. Aiello for serving our community. Are there other nominations? Okay, so now we would go to item number 20, executive session. That's when the council meets in private. There are only certain circumstances we can do that. We do not have an executive session for the evening. So we come to item number 21, adjournment. Anyone who's in favor of that?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded all over the place. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No. You're going to stay here.
Opposed, abstained? We are adjourned. Thank you.